Hello, welcome back to another Warframe Cosplay. Today we've got Mechagodzilla from the legendary Godzilla movies, the legendary pictures ones, the Monsterverse. That's what we call them. Um, I'm using Quarvex here, and let me run you through it real quick, and I'll explain all of the choices I made. And first, let me recolor this Sentinel because this is gonna bother me. I haven't changed this from when I did the Spider Gwen one. Oh gosh, I can recolor this one. That's fine. It doesn't matter. Shit, the Sentinel doesn't matter. It's okay. Well, I'll get to that. I'll get to that. Don't worry about it. Okay. So first up, let's talk about why I picked Corvex and the things that I used on him. So I picked Corvex because, well, first of all of his pieces, they just, to me, they very much reminded me of the legendary Mechagodzilla, and the way that he's got this sort of inner glow. Again, it really has that vibe to me. Uh, Secondarily, the way he takes color really works, I think. So I went for just his default skin because we have so many to choose from. I went for his Rax part helmet. The original helmet is cool. It's way too tall. This one's smaller, rounder. It's just got a better silhouette, right? I went for the agile animation, just his, because Mechagodzilla always has a little bit more hunched over kind of look, at least in the Monsterverse pictures. Um, so he's sort of hunched over. There's a couple other choices we can make here, um, but like they all move around a lot. Um, right, like this one's not terrible either. Uh, but they're all so bouncy. Um, so I don't know. You kind of gotta take your pick. Oof, not that one. Actually, I mean it moves a lot less. I wanted something really still if I could get my hands on it, like the way that Ash barely moves. Okay, well actually he moves a lot. But robots don't move a lot when they're unattended, right? And the Warframes will kind of have this breathing, bouncing, moving animation. I'm going down a rabbit hole here. It doesn't matter. That's why I picked this one. If you don't like it, make your own. And tell me what you did in the comments, actually, because I'm curious if you think there's better ones. Um, I'm not opposed to buying a new animation set for these. Nah, I'm not opposed to buying a new animation set for these things. Anyway, enough yap about that. Let's talk about the colors. So his primary, this is the one on the outside of the concrete. Um, you can see it sort of fades though if you look at like his look what's right here. See how there's the black underneath, right? I went for this gray from Smoke. I didn't want to go for black because I thought that would be too dark. Although honestly, it doesn't make a huge difference. But when you go with this dark gray, then you can do black underneath, and that kind of makes it look darker and shadowier in all these little crevices, right? Which I think one brings out the glow, and two makes each plate look more, each chunk, each piece look a little bit more individualistic. Each one's separate. Tertiary color is the same gray, or maybe a slightly lighter one. This is his main body. Again, I didn't want it to be black because I didn't want to overshadow the darkness of the outer plates, or hide all of the inner shadowy cracks. But I didn't want it to pop and be center stage either, so that's why we went with that. The accents are all metallic, so I went with white to get that silvery look. Although I'm wondering now if like a gray. It doesn't matter what white, guys. Most of these whites look almost the same. Like, can you tell the difference here? I can't. But I'm wondering if I went like a gray, like a little bit of a duller. That's better. Actually, I kind of like that better. Yeah, let's do that. Um, Energy, just two different reds. Anytime I do energy that's the same color, I try and do two different shades of that color, so because it just looks better on on the on the animations and stuff. Um, Now let's go to the attachments. Which, hold on, first let's copy the colors to get this darker one. Oh, those are a little too dark now though. I feel like these should be, see, because I don't want these to be quite that bright. Quite like, I don't want them to be super bright, but I don't want them to be quite that dark. Let's go with like that. Yeah. Okay. I didn't go for a chest piece because, well, one, he doesn't have a lot going on in his chest. It's kind of all of the metal plates just kind of converge, which some things kind of capture the vibe of like this one a little bit, or this one, actually especially this one. But if you look carefully, it doesn't really move in a way that is consistent with his chest, and that animation, it doesn't work for me. So since none of them look like quite like they're actually stuck onto him in a way that I like, I didn't go for that. So it also keeps the chest nice and clean. It doesn't hide any of this patterning, which these stripes, this texture, which I do really like. Sorex chest or shoulder guards, Sorex leg guards. They bulk out his shape. They give us very squarish, mechanical, robotic look, and they bring a little bit of light to an otherwise pretty dark Warframe. I especially like on the calves because the fronts of his calves actually don't have a lot going on. It's really all on the sides and the back that he's got the pulsating concrete chunks. So put a little metal in the front and it doesn't clip too badly. No auxiliary because Mechagodzilla doesn't have bunny ears. No ephemera because I just didn't like any of them. I don't know. Maybe something like smoking body is never bad. Well, it is in red. I wouldn't do it in red. Nope. Yeah, none of these worked for me. The only thing I would do is if you could get like a dust trail along by his feet. I'm not sure if we have anything quite like that right now. No Signa because we don't have one right now that really fits the head in a way that feels right. So, for the character. So, we didn't go with one. Yeah, that's that. The only other part of the look, hold on, we'll get the, okay, so, hold on. We'll talk about the sign down in a second. I went with these sigils, the Solaris emblem, because they just sort of have a robotic, rectangular look. That's really all. Only reason for that. Let's talk about the sign on it. So there are choices here. I went with this one because it kind of feels like a tail, sort of, which obviously Corvex doesn't passively have. It also kind of feels like the plates that Mechagodzilla has, which are much smaller and less impressive than Godzilla's. So Godzilla's, I used the, what's it called? Musho Sayandana? That's way too big, way too spiky, way too organic looking. Also, no tail. I used Chroma for Godzilla, which by the way, I didn't pick him for Mechagodzilla because I don't think Chroma has any skin to look really very robotic. And well, there's more. There's like some gameplay regions too. I'll get to that. Anyway, no tail. Iliac has these sort of very small, like much more subtle plates, I think, that look a lot better. They do flap, which I wish they didn't, or at least optionally didn't. And of course, it looks very fleshy, but I don't think it looks too terrible in black. Another choice, though, I think that is not terrible is the Glacia Sayandana. It sort of gives a tail. It has this sort of glow. And then it has these spines at the back, although they really don't look good with this energy color combination. For some reason, those really hide. They should be glowing more. But they're very synthetic looking. Besides that, I don't love a lot of the choices. This isn't really very Mechagodzilla plate-ish. It's dorsal plate-ish. I don't know. I guess, okay. I guess you could go for this one. But again, it looks more like a future jetpack to me. So I think this is the best choice. Again, if you have a better idea, let me know in the comments. Right, let's talk about the loadout real quick, and then I'll do some more explanation as to why I picked Corvex. So we went with the Exceltra Prime because it shoots little tiny rockets, which is one of Mechagodzilla's attacks in the film. Rapid fire mini rockets. In fact, one of his only ranged attacks besides the heat beam. So I went with Prisma Angstrom as well. This will be really good if you have the Incarnon. I don't, but if you do, it can be pretty good. For the Kogake Prime because Mechagodzilla also kind of just wails with the fists. So maybe a fist weapon would be better. Also, they look the most claw-like of all of the sparring weapons. At least the most mechanical claw-like of all of the sparring weapons. I thought about the Korudo, but they just don't look. They give that blunt fist vibe, but they don't give that sort of claw look. But now that I'm thinking about it, maybe just a fist weapon could be the move. Not these ones though. like the, I swear, like the Furex. That's what they're called. Furex. Okay, well, this is how they would look. Nope. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with these, even though Mechagodzilla doesn't do a lot of kicking. Sentinel, the only thing I could really come up with is if the company that created it used like surveillance drones to watch. So Helios. I didn't do any of this stuff because I didn't feel like it. I couldn't wrap my head around what kind of Necromech or surfboard could put Mechagodzilla on. Um, None of them really made sense, even the ones I used for the Godzilla loadout. So we're not going to do that. Finally, to represent the heat beam, of course, you probably already know Corvex's 4 is this giant laser beam, which doesn't come out of his mouth like Chroma's, so that's not perfect, but it feels a lot more. Okay, we're gonna get abstract here. To me, this feels a lot more manufactured and a lot more like something that somebody built. It doesn't feel as organic, which I think just it captures the feel of Mechagodzilla better than the Chroma still. So, you know, that's why we did it. Even though it comes out of the chest, I mean, if you really want to get loosey-goosey with it, sometimes other iterations of Mechagodzilla have. Oh yeah, that totally looks like a tail. Look at that. Oh, that's awesome. That might be our screenshot. They sometimes have, whoopsie, chest weapons. Jesus, that took me so long to get to. So that's why I went with it. I think it was a good choice. You don't have to. Let's do this one more time. Oops. And let's catch it right there. Yeah, and then, oh, but it's got that, alright. Oh wait, no, we can turn that off in settings. Okay, I want to get it right when his head is closing. I guess his head opens up a little bit. That's not bad, right? Okay. I'm gonna go. I forgot you can turn off your companions. Boom. Oh, but there's still the line. We're de-equipping it for the screenshot. Which, by the way, if this is your first Warframe cosplay, that's what we do. I end every video with a little screenshot. Sometimes I bounce around in the gameplay, but I don't feel the need to do that in this case. So I won't. Let's turn off. Yeah, trying. There we go. Now I can get my thumbnail screenshot. Alright. Laser. Timing. Uh-oh, he's got the weapon this time, but... Oh, no, I was too late. I was too slow. There we go. Yeah, that totally... It totally just looks like a tail and dorsal plates from here. Okay, I like that. I like that. Let's turn off depth of field, because... See, now it doesn't really... The laser isn't lasering, you know? I want to get, like, a really awesome... This just doesn't feel like, it doesn't... Oh, wait, Maybe? Maybe? No. Okay. Let's see here. What about just like a... Nope. Let's see here. Whoops. See, these look... Okay. These look kind of cool. That doesn't look like a human. I guess it's not a human, so we don't want it to. It's gotta be the chest laser. It's gotta be. Oops. There we go. He's got the plates. Yeah, I think we'll call that right there. That's probably going to be our thumbnail, if not like this. Thanks for tuning in. I know this is a shorter one, but, you know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'll be back with another one in the near future. As always, I have plenty more Warframe cosplays to do. Yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye.